Okay, we're going to start. We're actually ahead of schedule for those who are interested. So if you're on time, that's great. Otherwise, you have a minute to get in here. Thank you all for joining us for our Tech Week panel on B2AI to AI to C. It's pretty amazing to have 4 amazing women talk at a Tech Week panel. So can we give them a quick round of applause first? Thank you. Awesome. Just some quick house rules, ground rules. We are taking a video. You will not be in the video. However, if Eddie, who's sitting in the front, does shine his camera at you and you don't want to be in the video, please just let him know. But he is not going to take the video of you all, even though you're all looking amazing and fresh this morning. So before we begin, I'm going to introduce our amazing panelists. First is, I'm going to try, Ekaterina Dobrokotova. Kind of there. ECAT is a growth-focused marketing executive, blending corporate leadership with creator-level consumer engagement. As VP of Marketing at Miele Canada, she leads brand strategy, digital transformation, and consumer experience in premium markets. One of the oldest brands, I think, right? 125 years. Next to ECAT, we have Lakshmi Bhaskaran. Lakshmi is a seasoned tech executive, entrepreneur, and angel investor with a global career spanning startups, scale-ups, and Fortune 100 companies across North America, Europe, and Australia. She brings deep expertise in building world-class product and engineering organizations. At Microsoft, she currently heads the Digital Contact Center, driving its transformation in the era of AI. Welcome, Lakshmi. At the end here, we have Carla Kongson, who is a pioneering technology leader and a serial entrepreneur at the forefront of AI innovation. As CEO and CTO of Agentive, she architects proprietary AI agent platforms that transform how organizations harness artificial intelligence for enhanced productivity and risk management. A 2025 Women in AI Awards finalist in the AI Entrepreneur of the Year category. Carla is recognized for her contributions to advancing AI adoption and innovation in enterprise environments. Welcome, Carla. And last but not least, to my left here is Macy Sue. Macy is an artist, design researcher, and foresight strategist who works at the intersection of art, law, and design. She brings a systems lens to understanding change and shaping more society-centered design approaches. She is a service designer and product delivery lead in the public sector, an educator at George Brown College supporting emerging designers in navigating the legal and ethical dimensions of their practice, and is part of the Toronto-based Foresight Studio from Later. Welcome, Macy. Awesome. Okay, we're going to now chat for a little bit. And for those of you who I don't know, I'm Janice Liu. I'm the CEO of the Mantis Group. We're a marketing data transformation company based here in Toronto. And I have the lovely pleasure of networking and curating these women and bringing them together. So thank you so much. We're going to first start with, actually, Carla, a quick question. Can you just define agent to agent? What does that mean?
Well, it means a few things, but let me focus it within the retail or e-commerce marketplace. So agent-to-agent retail represents a really big shift in how we buy in e-commerce. So think of it as, instead of you interacting with an AI to make an order, you actually have an AI that then speaks to another AI retailer that completes that commercial transaction. So think of it as if you have an AI personal assistant, and it negotiates, it researches the product, it will arrange for shipment across the full value chain. So if you're buying a trip, it might research the flights, negotiate the flight, find out the hotel, find out activities, et cetera, and then provide you a package at the end of it across that full value chain of activities. This seems like science fiction. I'm curious here, how many people use a coupon finder like Honey or Rakuten or Capital One? So few people, all of you, hopefully, so that you're getting a good price, right? Think of that, but 100x, where it's not just finding that detail, but actually conversing with that whole value chain to purchase for you. So they are making decisions on your behalf. They're planning multi-step tasks. They are negotiating with the retailer, and potentially even negotiating returns and deliveries. Now, as we move from human asks AI, like ChatGPT, to your AI collaborates with their AI, that's going to mean a fundamental shift in the role of both marketers as well as that whole e-commerce transaction.
That's a great definition. Did you all get that? Okay. We're going to do some rapid fire. Oh, thank you so much. Wow. Yeah, that's Guybrush. We're in the showbiz, everybody. Okay. Thank you. We are now going to do a quick round of rapid fire just to make it extra information heavy, okay? So Macy, I'll pass my mic to you quickly, but the first question is, if you had to predict one game-changing outcome of agent-to-agent retail, what would that be?
I think we'll stop browsing and searching, and hopefully we will see more value in the value of discernment, so that hopefully we'll start choosing with more intention.
Shmi?
To me, I think it's, am I audible? Yeah. To me, I think it's dynamic pricing. You're no longer going to have set pricing of your products. You have your agents talking to your manufacturers or seller's agent, and the seller agent is going to browse around and figure what is the best price this day, this time, and offer that price for you.
Wow, I think it's completely eliminating that consumer journey from search to purchase. And so I can imagine that my personal assistant will order my dish tabs for me before I know I need them.
Whoa, before you even know. Okay. Carla?
I'll take a different route, which is from the business route. It's this is going to result in the great AI visibility divide. You're going to see the emergence of two classes of businesses: those that are AI visible, and those that are AI invisible. So how your website is built, not just the content that you put in, is actually going to define whether you're going to be found by these AI agents.
Okay, next one. Thank you all. Of all the many changes and the challenges this will bring, which one is on your mind the most?
For me, it's a risk of the flattening of taste. So, if AI agents can optimize so well, we're going to lose the elements of surprise. We're going to lose the element of culture, friction, and all the things that makes the human elements of the market.
Awesome. Lakshmi?
To me, the thing that's top of mind for me is flattening of workforce. Believe it or not, it is coming our way. And let's talk about how we can all prepare ourselves for the workforce flattening.
That's a big one. For me, it's, how do we ensure to keep the trust and the established connection that we've built with our customers and make it carry over when there is an algorithm in between us? So how do you keep that emotional connection?
Continuing on that, have and have not divide, I think that's going to happen to consumers as well. Out of curiosity, how many people here use free or the $20 ChatGPT or Claude version? So a lot of you. I guarantee the person that's paying $200 a month for the pro version is getting better output and access to better quality of models in that capacity. So when we think about those agents that consumers have access to, what happens to the more vulnerable consumer that can't afford the $200 agent that's negotiating on their behalf? So you're going to have the have and have not consumers that have access to the best prices due to dynamic pricing as well.
Okay. Getting really deep here and ethical already. Okay. What effects will AI to AI retail have on small business? Did I just ask that? I did. Will it level the playing field or give larger or AI first businesses the advantage? Yes, no.
So I think going off of that visibility issue, I think it could be a bridge or a moat. without open infrastructure, without that readability, that feasibility, small business just won't be seen, and they could be cut out of the market, cut out of the race.
That's an interesting idea because I feel that AI will give the small businesses a very good level playing field. Because imagine having AI doing your contact center 24/7, regardless of which part of the world you're in, rather than having to deploy humans in North America, Europe, and Asia. So agents are going to do the job for you, which means every small business owner has a 24/7 contact center or a customer service available for them.
I believe it could level, that field between small and bigger companies. I still think, though, that bigger companies, because they have more data and are working to structure that data, have a little bit of an edge. But I think it will come down to agility. How fast can they adapt? And we know bigger companies take a little bit more time. For us, Mila, it's been around for quite a bit in Canada, and we have 80% D2C, and we are still learning how to leverage and tap into the data to enhance the consumer experience. So it does take a little bit more time. So agility, I would say, is an advantage.
I agree with all these points of view, particularly Lakshmi and Macy. I think there is huge opportunity. You're going to get the cursors of the world. So how many here have heard of Cursor? 4 or 5 people. So Cursor was 4 Berkeley dropouts who created this coding capability, small business, and they were 100 million in under 21 months with less than 20 people. So huge opportunity for small business. Yet at the same time, those that don't embrace technology will become invisible. So take the stat. 12% of Canadian businesses, all businesses, are explicitly using AI. 27% of Canadian entrepreneurs don't actually know they're using AI because it's embedded in their systems. So don't be part of that 88%, I guess, in order to take advantage of this revolution.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go a little deeper now. So Lakshmi and Macy, as we give our shopping agents more autonomy, how do we maintain control and trust, especially for bigger, more important purchases? What mechanisms or policies need to be in place? Macy.
So trust fundamentally is relational. It cannot be a checkbox that's like in the terms of use. It's about relationship. So it's built over time. It's built through reflection. It's built through memory. It's built through accountability. And that's why we have, we trust in the vet that we always go to, or like the one specific real estate agent, or, because we've developed that relationship over time. And so with AI agents now stepping into that role and guiding some of those potentially bigger and bigger stakes decisions on purchases, and like in terms of housing, education, health, it might become a problem if that trust hasn't been earned. And another big risk, I think, is that AI agents don't just reflect our choices. They're going to start shaping them. And there could be a real exploitation of this hyper-targeted persuasion. Some people call it hyper-persuasion. And so when AI tailors messages and, decisions based on our mood, our history, everything, all the data that they can get from us, and nudge us subtly, at this continuously exponential scale, it could become problematic. So we're not just delegating shopping, but we're delegating influence. And with persuasive technologies inherently are technologies of power. So I think we mentioned, whoever controls the agent, its goals, its data, its logic, that can shape not just what we buy, but also what we value. And that's a complete cultural shift. And so what can we do about it? I think we need policies around explicit explainability, reversibility, keeping human in the loop design, especially for these kinds of like high stake decisions. But it's not just about systems design as well. I think, like we mentioned a little bit, like people need the capacity to question, the capacity to prompt. So digital literacy and access to tools to help people push back and interrogate, and ultimately like really contribute to these tools that we are delegating to.
Lakshmi, anything to add?
Sure. There are a few things to add. I guess it's more about your agent is a machine. Are we ever going to trust a machine? Yeah, something for us to deeply ponder about. The machine can, we all say AGI, and the machine could be as good or even better than a human. But the human ecosystem to trust a machine might be we're not there or will never be there. So the way I think about the AI agent in the commercial space is about how can I leverage the agent in order to do some jobs for me? I'm not going to trust an agent to buy a house for me, right? I'm not going to trust an agent to buy a car. I might trust an agent to buy a hairdryer. I might trust an agent to probably like replenish, as she was saying, replenish my wardrobe with or replenish my day-to-day grocery usage. So it is basically understanding what is the level of trust that we can build on an AI agent. It depends on what you want the AI agent to do. Things that are reversible, we talk about one-way decisions and two-way decisions. Buying a house, buying an expensive car is a one-way decision. I'm not going to trust a machine to make a one-way decision for me. But probably I will trust the machine for on two-way decisions, wherein it makes a decision, it's either A, reversible, or B, the decision is not super expensive that I'm not losing my sleep over it. So that is exactly where I would leverage AI agent and probably leverage AI agent at scale. I probably buy a house twice, thrice in my lifetime. I buy a car 5 times in my lifetime. So agents are not put to maximum use there. But I replenish my grocery every single week. And I probably like buy clothes like every month or once every other month. So that is where I can put agents at scale. And those are the things where I trust my agents full blown. So it is more about understanding when I think about, as I'm building contact center with AI agents at Microsoft, I always think about where do my customers use it? If it is a decision that they want AI to make that is easily reversible, 100%, my customers would trust using agents. If it is an irreversible decision, they want them to be there rather than a machine or an algorithm to represent them.
Thank you. Well said. And what a question. Do you trust a machine? That's going to be a soundbite. Carla and Ekat, the in-store experience is a powerful purchase influencer, speaking of whether or not you trust that influencer, which is lost when shopping is delegated to AI. How will the in-store experience evolve? Ekat?
Sure. So I think buying a Miele appliance is like buying a car, about the same price range if you're doing your kitchen. For us, it's always been about a Miele Experience Center. We never called our showrooms a store. So you go to a Miele Experience Center, and we have 6 across Canada. And some of you have been to some of our events. We're very big on live, cooking demonstrations, masterclass with a top chef. You have one-on-one consultations if you're shy. So really about building that experience with the products in store. And it is a little bit difficult, even on Miele.ca online, to see purchases of, a $25,000 refrigeration, product. So folks prefer to go in store. But aside from AI to retail, Miele has been investing in AI into our products. So in our latest generation of cooking appliances, the ovens have a camera. And a lot of folks are asking me, okay, great. It takes through the Miele app, I can see a picture of my pizza cooking every 60 seconds. Awesome. I can post it on Instagram. But then what? So I tell them, well, we are future-proofing our appliances, because the next feature following that is Smart Food ID. So Smart Food ID, basically, now we have, let's say, thousands of pictures of pizzas cooking in the oven. And now the appliance can identify what is cooking and regulate the temperature and settings without human intervention in the future. Now, will you trust the oven to cook for you? That's a different question. But really, we're then essentially training AI to see what chefs knew this whole time, which is an oven should not burn your food. Okay, next.
She's also a magician. Forgot to say that. That was amazing. Carla, that's hard to follow.
That's hard to follow. Oh my gosh. AI is so boring when you can do that. Jeez. So I totally agree with ECAT around the whole notion of stores becoming theater as opposed to utility. And so they become the destination when you want to discover, when you want to feel, when you want to experience, but also put forth the thought that they may become data centers. And so if we're actually attracting humans en masse, think about the rise of wearables. I don't know if anybody's followed the Meta glasses and what Google has been creating, right? I have a pair right now. They're pretty cool. I can record y'all if I wanted to on video, but the next generation actually has camera in. And what that means is it's actually going to be able to record your retinas. And what does that mean? That means it can record emotion, right? Like I look at a Miele appliance or range and I get excited. That's data that can go back to that source. So think about it as opportunities for theater, but that theater, you actually can become the product that we measure to lead into the data center that then fuels the AI interactions.
Wow. Okay. This is great discussion so far. We're going to go a bit into the future here with Macy. From a foresight perspective, what are some of the long-term societal and economic implications, positive or negative, that Canada should anticipate in AI to AI retail?
It's hard to follow the excitement there. I think AI and AI retail won't just change what we buy. Like we're saying, it's going to change how economies are shaped and who gets to participate, especially as potentially gets into public infrastructure, urban planning, and all of those things. And one potential long-term implication is economic consolidation. So the agents that dominate retail decisions will belong to the platforms that have the data, that have the capital, and that risk locking out small Canadian businesses or local markets, Indigenous producers, etc. Anyone's whose offerings are not readable, quote unquote, by default. Another risk, like I was saying, is like that flattening of taste. So agents optimize for patterns, performance, and not necessarily discovery or cultural nuance. But I think what we're hearing in terms of looking into that retail experience, that theater, could ensure that we retain those moments of discovery, those moments of delight. But ultimately, it can also shrink what's visible in the market in terms of alternatives for us, and narrowing what we think might be viable or valuable. And then also there's a shift in skills. So when agents take over comparisons, we're already using ChatGPT. And I was just looking up pet insurance and being like, ChatGPT, please, provide me a comparative table of, the top Canadian pet insurance plans. But when they take over that layer of reasoning, and we're just listening and making that ultimate choice, it basically taking over the comparative shopping and the budget tracking, people lose the consumer skills, and they lose the skills that helps make them inform, to make ethical choices, and ultimately our relationship to spending and our responsibility to our consumer responsibility. So these systems will shape not only what gets purchased, but ultimately what gets produced, and what culture survives, what business models thrives, and which institutions the public might trust. And so the agents are learning already. So the question becomes, whose values will they carry, and who really gets to decide?
Wow. Okay. That's very grounding. It is, right? Because now I'm going to ask ECAT, who gets to decide? You're a premium brand. You represent a premium brand. How is Miele preparing for AI to act on its behalf and maintain premium standards? Because you're deciding on pricing, but you're also deciding on other things that are going to make that pricing value exchangeable.
It is the same price across Canada, so it has less issues there.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't talk about price too much, but Miele is for consumers who demand the best. So for us, the question is, how do we embed that premiumness, that's basically brand meaning, into machine readable formats? And I'm still learning, and happy to discuss more with my colleagues here. what does it mean? Is it structured data? Is it enriched product feeds? Is it longevity test results? How do you put all of that and make sure to have like sort of a Mila AI liaison that like translates those things so that the meaning is understood by AI. And then AI will be able to assist and say, okay, that's just not just another appliance on your list, but that is the appliance that is going to be a great long-term investment for you. So how does AI understand those things? So I think a lot of companies will go on those journeys of, and that's probably a future question also, like what new jobs are created, because I don't know how to write that kind of language. So I know, we have data, but to structure and to write and translate to AI instead of to people, that is the challenge. And that's what we're adapting. But in the essence, where I find it's reassuring is if I understand who my brand is for, which is for folks who demand the best, I believe AI will understand that too and will be able to advise the other AI accordingly.
Right. So differing requirements kind of for each individual user in that way. I'll go to you, Lakshmi. Given Microsoft's extensive work in AI, how do you see AI to AI retail interactions evolving in the near future on the consumer level and for enterprises?
I have great dreams for it, and some of it we are already executing. So let me start with a simple analogy or an example here. So this morning, as I was getting ready for the event, my hair dryer broke right on time. Right. So what was going through my mind is like, am I going to finish the event, head back home, and then go through all the websites and then figure what's the right hair dryer for me? And I think that is exactly where an agent comes into play. If I were to tell an agent as I was stepping out of home, hey, I want you to find a hair dryer. Now, the agent has two responsibilities. One is the agent needs to know the right data in order to find the hair dryer for me. So that is the contextual data. So what data does agent need? Might be like, I have a Dyson hair straightener. So if it has the data, then the agent knows that it needs to look for a Dyson hair dryer for me because I trust the brand. I already trust the brand. Makes it easy for the agent to convince me why I should buy a Dyson hair dryer instead of a different brand. Then me and my daughter, we like pink in all our appliances. So like my it needs to find a pink hair dryer for me, which Dyson carries one. And I like discount shopping. I don't like to pay full price. So how does the agent know that I like discount shopping? So it needs my shopping history to say, hey, Lakshmi, whatever she has purchased, probably she has purchased in a discounted price. So it needs to not just go find a hair dryer, but come and tell me, hey, you need to probably wait for a month for this event to come in place in order to buy a hair dryer at the best price, right? So now the agent needs two kinds of data. One is the digital contextual data, which is my shopping history, which says that I already have invested in a Dyson hair straightener, and I'm a discount buyer, and which also needs the physical data around my house where some of my appliances are in pink. So it needs both the digital data and the physical data. Digital data is immense. Like it's whether we are trusting the agent with their shopping history, that's a question we all need to answer. But the physical data is where every company needs to figure out, like, how do they get the physical data from their users or from their customers' premise in order to feed it? Like in Mila's case, like, what is your customer's use of your refrigerator?
Yeah, and through the Mila app, we're able to track consumption, which is also, why folks are saying, why do I need to connect my appliance? Well, in the future, it will become.
You have a camera. Yeah. Now they know the camera would record things of like what kinds of food are they cooking in order to make better recommendations on how long a food needs to sit in the oven.
We also put a camera in the next fridge. So that's also what we're saying right now is when you go shopping, you can see what's in the fridge, but who knows how it could be applied. Yeah.
Physical data as well. That's amazing. So this is on the consumer side. Now let's go to the business side, which is even more tricky. So imagine let's go back to the same hairdryer thing. I buy a hairdryer, there is a power surge, my hairdryer breaks in a month, right? Or I'm banging on my hairdryer as I'm getting ready to the work because I'm disappointed at my boss and I'm showing it on my hairdryer. Now I call Mila's customer service and I'm like, look, my hairdryer broke within a month. So as a human, the negotiation is a lot different than a machine could negotiate on my behalf. Tell me how many times you're with the customer service provider, you go for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you're just about to hang up, and your customer rep says, I give you a 50% discount if you were to buy a new one, the same brand, the same type. What goes on in your mind?
Buy it.
Exactly, right? Now, but the agent thinks about it Boolean. The agent is not yet a contextual thinker. So the business, like in Mila's case, they need to be able to know they're speaking to an agent, but they're speaking to an agent for a human consumer. So your algorithm at the business side should not only know how to speak to an agent, they need to know how to speak to an agent who's going to convince a human consumer to buy or not buy a product. That is why, as much as this whole space becomes exciting, super exciting, that's why I wake up every morning super excited about solving these problems. But it's also tricky because you're thinking for a machine and a human behind that machine. So that's where all these agents in the commercial space becomes quite exciting and quite tricky to handle as well.
Yeah, I love your live example and your live customer journey there, which is great. It segues actually nicely into my next question to Carla about how agents are changing marketing. What advice would you give to marketers about making their content and digital presence agent friendly, specifically as the agent's representing a human?
No, I love that. And that's such a great build. And so we talked about stores becoming theaters of experience, right? And as marketers, we've been brought up to really generate the theater of the mind through concepts and ideas and emotions. Hate to break it to you, but in order to succeed in this agent world, you need to think like a librarian and not like a marketer. What I mean by that is these AI agents are looking for clear, organized, and detailed information, not clever marketing copy, and they need it immediately. So I don't know how many people realize, but if your content doesn't load immediately, like those core things, you're invisible. So dynamic loads, like endless scroll, that actually works against you around this whole discovery thing, which is great for humans, not so good to be findable for agents. So as marketers, you need to get technical. And the medium, how you deliver it, the programming around your website is as important as the message and the content that you serve up. It's no longer just about keyword search. So 3 critical actions as marketers for us to be able to thrive in this new agent world is the first thing is you need to make your information crystal clear and organized. Agents need to easily find and understand your data, your product details, your pricing, your business information. Think detailed product specs, clear pricing, obvious contact information, and straightforward descriptions. So how you build that isn't about discovery, but findability. The second is ensure that your most important information loads immediately. If your product descriptions and prices take a minute to load, that your site needs to think about it to load it, you've just rendered yourself invisible. Your core business information needs to be visible the instant someone or something, an AI, gets to your page. The third that I would say that's important for marketers is this mindset shift, right? So we write for people who browse and discover and get and get excited about the emotions that our sites create. For AI systems, it needs to be immediately findable. So an example for this, so let's say you're a premium brand, right? In the premium world, we would talk about premium quality that speaks to our hearts and our minds. You actually need to say 15-year warranty versus the industry standard of 3 years. That's going to create findability for agents. So just remember that in an agent-to-agent world, your content needs to convince not just the person discovering, because they still exist, but also for the AI to recommend it to someone else's AI to make that decision.
That's really interesting how you're talking about like the technical specs and the librarian mindset, because it's kind of like the opposite of what marketers
Sexy librarian, though, okay?
Sexy librarian, yes. It's the opposite of what marketers are trained on, right? Which is like creativity and like go outside the box, and even knowing 15 years is the market standard, and not like as a human, you'd be like 15 years, that sounds long. But to your point, as an agent, you might go, well, that's relative to another brand. ECAT, how about you? Like when it comes to your brand and ensuring value proposition and the unique value proposition you have, what is it? For the best. Mila is always
Well, we say immer besser, which is forever better.
Forever better.
Translated just simply the best, right? But really for us, it's how do we get to your point, AI to understand the contextual cues, right? And then also the language, which is built to last 20 years. Instead of saying just silent dishwasher, right? Or the warranty, like 10 years. That's a great idea. I have to incorporate that because we have the highest warranty as well. We keep parts for over 20 years because, we need to service those machines if we claim that it's going to last for 20 years, right? So, how do we translate all those terms into the terms that AI will understand? That's a great exercise for us.
Lakshmi, what about you? This level of automated commerce means a lot of sensitive data being shared. How does that, what is Microsoft doing? Can you tell us a little bit behind the...
We think a lot about it. I think fundamentally, if I were to put it in simple, non-technical terms, you need to subject an AI agent to the same level of authentication and authorization like a human agent, if not even stringent. So every time you build an agent, that's the first and foremost thing you think about, like how are you making the authentication and authorization super stringent for this agent? The world is going in a way where Lakshmi has an agent. Do I have an agent for, browsing websites and giving me research data? Do I also have, is it a multi-purpose agent that does everything for me? Or is it an agent that does a separate job? Do I have agents each for its own job? Like one for shopping, one for research, and one for finding the best insurance premiums in the market? So that's something the world is evolving to think. Are we building multi-purpose agents or agents that are specialized in each of them? Because that will then determine what's the level of authorization I need for each of these agents. A research agent might have read-only access across all the websites that I would browse. But a shopping agent would have access to make a purchase on my behalf. So depending on what kind of agents that we are building and how the world would evolve, we would have those kind of authorization and authentication abilities. Now, imagine you have an agent who could do transactions on your behalf in a bank. So you have those agents follow zero trust principles. Like you never trust anything on the agent. So you go through every bit of stringent regulations before you can trust the agent to do transactions on your behalf. And even simple things like your agent should align with the GDPR principles, the GDPR policies, the ISO 27001, the SOC 2. Your agent goes through every bit of authorization and authentication like what a human would go. What we need to discover is how do you subject more stringent regulations on the agent that probably a human could easily escape from, but an agent cannot? How do you subject that level of stringent regulations on them? And that's something work is still in play on how to put agents through stringent regulations.
I think we started the conversation with haves and have-nots and people in the future. My fear is also that we're going to have generations of people who don't even know how to use their cell phone are now going to be subjected to using these different permission levels and layers of an agent, right? So Macy, maybe give us a sense, because you're supporting the Albertan government right now, but how can governments and policymakers prepare for AI to AI disruption in this area, and especially when it comes to data privacy and market regulation, and how do you help them be more proactive?
I think a risk that I'm seeing is governments potentially treating AI as like a silver bullet, like a magic wand to modernization. But public systems are inherently, heavy and weighted for a reason. They are really complex systems by design because we need to cater to the common public. And so I've worked in, on a procurement platform, for example, where I am seeing that complexity. It's just so hard to find a common denominator to even build features fast and learn from it. We just sometimes don't have the luxury to fail fast. And so is kind of shifting the mindset to learn fast and build things that last, built to last. And AI will give us the tools, but also there are new risks, and the disruption is obviously not just technical, it's completely structural and systemic. And that's why governments they can't just regulate in the sidelines. They need to be model users of the technology. And in order to do that, we need to build internal capacity, not just to adopt AI, but to interrogate it. And that's the real challenge, I think. So, sometimes tools can be gated, the talent might be hard to access, and knowledge can be siloed. And can be trapped in vendor silos, and potentially we need better public-private collaboration. We talk about embedding technologists or artists in the policy making table, but could we embed policymakers into like the fast tech workspace to learn from that, and bring it back to the government, to like entrenched systems, so the learning can flow both directions, and it's not just about delivery but shared design. And I mean, I think there might be like promising models to draw from. I think it's important to carve out space, like safe space for experimentation. That's where we can actually fail and learn from it. So, AI sandboxes, what works, public evaluation hubs, potential certification standards for agent behavior, kind of riffing off of what you were talking about, and for market fairness. So these aren't just like governance mechanisms, but is building the infrastructure for long-term accountability. And also being proactive means more than just like publishing principles. It's like piloting responsibly, monitoring continuously, designing for public value from the start. And yeah, we need to start doing this right now, because it cannot be an afterthought, and we need to shape that foundation now, so that we're not, scrambling to retrofit it later on.
That's very well said, because I really like what you said around, we're so used to the story of building fast and breaking things from Silicon Valley, to the opposite, which is how do you learn fast but build, to your earlier point, like more intentionally and slower. Do you actually see, and this leads to my next question or my final question, but do you actually see how does like a private sector business really engage with even a public sector professional or someone who they can embed into like their organization? And do you think, actually, that leads to my last question, are there specific skills or roles within marketing, retail, and technology professionals that could prepare this kind of workforce?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't have a solution for that. I mean, I would love to be embedded in, a tech company. But but I think in terms of skills, riffs off of what you were saying in terms of understanding AI agents should be should specialize and to solve complex problems in pieces. And so I think the role of the orchestrator, someone that can orchestrate between AI tools, but also between people, systems, and the tools, would be a really, really important skill and role in the future. So it's not about outpacing this technology, but knowing when to lean onto it, when to intervene, and how to connect everything meaningfully. And I also think that actually, like, the value of physical presence will rise and not fail. There are still those moments that we're talking about, especially for higher stakes decisions, where people want to sit down with someone, people want someone to negotiate with, and talk through the options and feel confident in their decision. It's almost like a validation thing. So, studio consultations, or even like maybe door to door, it might sound old school, but maybe like there's a charm to it, and that maybe it'll come back. And then, of course, education needs to prepare people for hybrid futures, and really just like being able to discern and have judgment to move between human and machines with intention, like you were saying.
Lakshmi, any skills that you think everyone should prepare for?
I would say the only skill is being resilient. That is the skill that's going to take us for the next foreseeable future. I mean, a very real-time example, like we recommend our engineers to use AI. Like we we in-house, we have our Copilot, all our engineers use Copilot, Cursor, and whatnot. Name any tool, we would have tested it. I was having like joke with my boss the other day, like he would say, like, let's try this. And even before the team has fully adopted, understood what the trade-offs, there's one more thing in play. Let's try the next one. Let's try the next one. So I think the most important thing is, like, as the world is moving extremely fast with the agents and the AIs in the ecosystem, being resilient and being able to keep up with the pace of how the industry is evolving and how the technology is evolving is the best thing we can do for ourselves. When you wake up every morning and you feel like, oh, I'm left behind, yeah, don't feel bad. I probably, like, there are 1,000 other people thinking the same thing. Just grab an article, grab a book, read what's happening, and just keep moving forward. That's what we could do for our own self and for our careers.
Thank you. Ika?
Awesome. So for the physical world, which great to hear is probably not going away, I think still, being able to engage with people, it's a great skill, right? So building relationships, but in the world that is less visible, I noted 3. So a brand semantics architect. For me, it's someone who would be translating brand essence into data AI understands. Then potentially an AI experience curator. What I mean by that is, how do you merge UX with predictive logic to shape AI-led journeys? I have no clue how to do that. And then content structuring strategist. Yeah. So if big companies have lots of data, how do you structure that for all the tools that the agents require to give the best answers that your brand comes out?
Nice. Carla?
So I would say there's a huge workforce transformation happening right now. And it's not just about learning new tools, but it's recalibrating your expectations on where humans add value when AI takes care of the mundane tasks. So that whole notion of reinventing yourself is critical for all of us in this room if you use a computer. And I'm assuming that's all of you. And there's a quote that I love from this sci-fi writer, William Gibson, I think he's from the 70s. Which is, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. So if you want to be on the right side of the distribution curve, I give you 3 ideas to start with. So get AI literate, like, today. This is not a Q4 problem. Do it today. Understand what agents are. I took and I'm non-technical. So being not technical is not an excuse. I come from 25 years of marketing as an executive. I can run teams. I don't code. And I've built a platform with 100 agents. So there's a course that I took. It was a 5-week in-depth course. It's the top on Maven. It was quoted on Lenny's list. And she's doing a 10-day version of that for free. So if you're interested, hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll send you the link to her course. It's well worth taking. The second is develop your human edge. I think it was said before that there are components that make us infinitely valuable that AI can't replicate yet. So those things like creativity, empathy, complex problem solving, relationship building are going to be key. But even what's more important is pick a niche where you're going to be the top expert in that niche. AI can replicate anything at an average level, but if you are the top expert in creative writing, in strategy, in whatever, it's not yet ready to replicate that top 2%. But you're not going to be the top 2% in everything that you do. So pick a spot. The third thing that I would say is practice reflexive AI. How many people are aware of the memo that Toby Lutka from Shopify posted a few weeks ago? So I would hope that everybody raised their hand, but they haven't. So use Perplexity and find the memo that Toby Lutka from Shopify, the CEO of Shopify, posted on the notion of reflexive AI. So he sent a note out to his full team in Shopify and said that is now a mandate. And he had like 10 points around what it's going to take to survive in the era of AI. And that is really your reflex to use an AI on any task that you repeat more than 5 times a week, which is a lot. And so what I would encourage you to do is to experiment every day. If AI is locked down in your workplace, then do it on a personal basis. Don't put in any PII. You've got a phone that's probably a personal phone, and do something. So take the 30 apps in 30 days challenge. Go to, there's an AI for that. That's actually a website. And pick an app every day and just try it. Use the free version, use a fake Gmail, but just try a new app so that AI becomes a reflexive attitude, a muscle in everything that you do.
Thank you. Okay, so sounds like learn a lot, learn quickly, engage, participate. New jobs are coming, old jobs are going. Be resilient and just keep going. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Ooh, Sydney in the back. Okay, that's a really interesting association. Anyone?
I mean, I hope so, because we're investing in a lot of meal experience centers. It's a great question. I mean, personally, when there was the other version of AI that came out, right? I don't know if we should name it DeepSeek, right? And it was free. Everyone's like, just go the free version. Why are you paying for the paid version of ChatGPT? And I still have not converted because my ChatGPT has a name now, so I can't get rid of it. It's really personally attached to it. So yeah, I personally would keep investing into a product. So I understand there's other products available, but yeah, I still see the value, and I've also already shared so much information with my AI that I don't want to switch to another one that's potentially a free version. So I would assume a lot of people think the same way. But yeah, it's all about convenience for folks. So at this point, do you get the same experience? Is there different tiers? I don't know. It's like when you're listening to something and there's commercials and non-commercials, right? So it's a tough one, but I would say I still think the physical aspect is the best expression you can have of a brand in a physical space. The second best is to be able to hear, what are the reviews like? What is the experience like from other people? And at scale, AI helps you curate all that content.
I guess the way I think about it is like, what is luxury? Luxury is like wherever there is a scarcity, there is a luxury, right? Louis Vuitton bags, sorry for the men in the room, I'm referring to a lot of like female products, but Louis Vuitton bags, it's a luxury because you don't have million of those bags sitting around. Miele is a luxury because there is a scarcity of the luxury products. So depending on that principle of thought, if there is a scarcity of human interaction, then wherever there is a human interaction, that is going to be a component of luxury.
Thank you. Did you want to ask your second question? Like your agent is monetized, it's a commercial bot. Who owns the agent? Yeah.
That's a very good question. I think you're a very futuristic thinker. Let's say that. The way I think about it is like, how is Google going to monetize AI agents, right? But the other way to think about it is like, how is Perplexity already monetizing search? Because Perplexity is an AI search platform. And I was reading your article from the Perplexity CEO about how they plan to monetize an AI search platform through the agents. So what I'm thinking is like, instead of figuring out how Google is going to monetize AI agents, I'm thinking about how are these AI agentic platform going to monetize search. So that I believe is where the future is going to be. The AI agentic platforms monetizing search will completely redefine the Google way of search monetizing agents. Exactly. Yeah.
Can you put that in something that I really understand? I heard what you said.
Sure.
I know all the words. But there was such a string of concepts there, all kind of mushed into one.
So let's simplify this. Google is a search platform, and what we are wondering is, how is Google able to monetize an agent searching to buy a refrigerator and then buying a refrigerator through their search? Through Google search. So that's the question. So how are all these search platforms going to monetize the presence of agents?
So today you pay Google to have your search results show up, but in the future, the results are not going to be there because an AI is going to just represent you, get results, and then take action. In that scenario, nobody's making money. How does Google make money in that scenario?
Especially Google is not making money, but Miele would still make money. If I go search in Google for Miele refrigerator, Miele would make money because my agent is going to purchase a Miele refrigerator through the Google search. But one of the top companies in the world, how are they going to make money?
But when that Google wants to create its own agent,
Am I going to trust Google's agent? Because then Google probably is going to force me to buy a product that they think is the right product. So am I going to trust a Google agent or trust a general purpose agent or trust an agent that I built for myself?
then the next question would be, how can we tell it to music?
Sure. There are mechanisms to figure. There are mechanisms to figure it's like a human interacting with a Google search, or it's a machine or an algorithm interacting with a Google search.
Okay, we have 2 more questions in the back, and we're almost at time. Back there? Yes, you're seen and not seen. Yeah.
And you're actually getting the breath that me as a human look at.
That is the ultimate question. But I guess like at this point when technology is being developed, it's asking ourselves like who is at the table to like train it, who's like what kind of value profiles are being imbued in the technology, and also how can we like continuously critique it so that whatever is learning can be not necessarily reversed, but like it can be built on, layered on. Because there's already a lot of inherent biases already. So how can different perspectives, the data from that, be included into the learning models?
And I would add too, what's the role of regulatory principles as well too, and regulations. So currently the Canadian Competition Bureau actually has an outreach to public for feedback on algorithmic and dynamic pricing. That's not new. That's been happening for decades. But in light of AI, they've actually done an outreach to the industry to provide feedback on potentially some new regulatory requirements on that topic specifically.
not feeling about, you know, like that. Then I'll do that, I'll do that, this month,
I prescribe to follow the money. So let's be real, right? If money backs it, they will rise in there. And so, as much as ethics and fairness are good principles, and I think the regulations will begin to provide some guidance and transparency, ethics, and lack of bias. If it sells, companies will invest in it.
But I guess also like then it becomes a consumer's choice, like what agent you subscribe to. So then could there be things like, we have like the B Corp certification stuff. So that informs you like what are the values of the company that is building these agents. And then, it could then empower the consumer to pick the right agent for them.
Okay, we have time for one more question. I actually I know I saw over there. I just want to double down on this for a second because as someone who has actually experimented with all of the Chinese models, because I think I'm not killing a tree every time I'm prompting versus if I use chat, I think I'm killing like a forest. It does go back, I think, to a level of like consumer understanding and education and your discernment and choice. The reason I don't want to use Perplexity is because I'm not aligned with their values. Right. So I think there is some more conditional things that as a human you have to take on, whether or not you chose what soap you used before and now you do. Right. But it's up to you. I think it's a very personal choice. We'll go one last question and then we'll close up. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're at 10 o'clock right now, so you're welcome to stay around here for a little bit. I think the Soho House welcomes you for a little bit as well if you'd like to go. And then I just want to thank you all so much for bringing your expertise and your perspectives. And have a great Tech Week.
Thank you.